Hey besties, welcome back to the channel. Whether you're new or returning, I'm so grateful that you're here. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Nicole. I'm your go-to girl for all things related to fashion, fitness, and of course, vintage designer handbags. All right, girlies, today we're diving into one of the most iconic and Y2K bags ever released. Today we're reviewing none other than the vintage Dior Girly Saddle by, of course, John Galliano's 2004 collection. Today I'm going to be going over the features of this bag, pros and cons, why it's trending again, and how to check for authenticity. This bag is super special to me, so when I was a kid, this was actually my dream bag. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely rocked the fake version of this as a kid when I was growing up. I obviously could not afford the real thing at 12 years old, and even though I wore the fake version with total confidence as a kid, I always told myself that as a kid, one day I was gonna get older and be able to afford the real thing one day. And now we're here. It's so crazy, and it represents a huge milestone in my life. I had been looking for this bag, honestly, for the last couple of years now. And so whenever I did see it on the pre-loved market, a lot of the ones just weren't up to my standards personally. The quality was just never there. So especially on this bag, because it is made of cloth, it is easy to find ones with tons of yellowing, which we will get further into, and it's definitely a watch out with this bag. And then right around my birthday, this one actually popped up on the reel, and I just knew it was meant to be. When I finally received this one, I honestly got so emotional, you guys. To me, it's really not just a bag, it's a true milestone that represents how far I've come. Again, I really pushed myself to have this career and have this lifestyle, so it was just such a gratifying moment for me. I know that my younger self would be so proud seeing that I became the badass career woman I always dreamed of, and that I did what I always said I was gonna do. One day I was gonna be able to afford the real thing. Honestly, as a kid, this was my idea of a Birkin, and honestly, it's more fun than one. So once again, to me, this isn't just a handbag. It's really proof that hard work does pay off. But enough about my personal story and why I decided to buy this bag. Let's go ahead and get into some of the features and the history behind this iconic piece. This bag was created none other by John Galliano at Dior, who reigned at the fashion house from 1996 to 2011. He was really well known for being theatrical, girly, and whimsical with his designs. The saddlebag debuted in 1998, but this girly piece was actually featured in the 2004 collection, so peak Y2K fashion. I'm a millennial, so if you know, you know, but Y2K was just such an iconic cultural moment, you guys. We were all pink obsessed, so think Paris Hilton, Jessica Simpson, Sex and the City. I mean, the saddlebag was the it girl bag. And I know some people aren't really fan of the saddle shape, but I personally love it. I just so happen to love bags that are kind of odd shapes and not something you would find normally. And I just think the nostalgia of a saddlebag is just something that will forever make my heart sing. These vintage saddlebags are so rare now, and honestly, within the last few years, the prices have skyrocketed. It seems like everybody wants one now, and one thing I will say about the vintage saddlebags is that there's so many more fun prints compared to the modern ones. Obviously, I love both, but I do think that the vintage ones just have so much more character. Now let's go into the overview of this bag and its features. So this bag is a 7.25 inch height and a 9.5 inch width. It does have a 7.25 depth, and the strap drop on this handbag is 6.75 inches. And okay, look at this Dior hardware, you guys. I mean, this is just to die for. Again, they just don't make them like this anymore. I love this iconic silver. I just think it pairs so perfectly with the pink and white. As for the material, it is a white Dior canvas. However, it is not the type of canvas that you can just wick away. Unfortunately, it is the cloth. So this bag is very prone to not only yellowing, but getting stains. You definitely do not want to be wearing this one out if you're going to be drinking any colored liquids, because it will quite literally show everything. And if you take a closer look at the print, you have the Dior logo going all the way throughout the bag, and then these gorgeous little petals. I mean, this is iconic Y2K, you guys. So the strap is all of that white leather patent. And then once again, we have the Dior hardware right over here. Silver tone hardware featured all throughout the bag. It complements the pink and white on this handbag so perfectly. Let's move on to the inside. So it does feature a Velcro opening right over here. Honestly, very easy to open and get in and out of. And then this lining right here is a silk pink interior. And it does have one small pocket on the inside. And then as well as on the back, there is another slip pocket right over here. And then this back pocket also does have a button clasp right over here. As for what fits inside, this is an iPhone 12. So you can see I have plenty of room. Can definitely throw in a pair of sunglasses, a card holder, some keys, and lip gloss. I would say it fits all of your standard essentials. Not the biggest bag, but it actually holds more than you think. And height-wise, it is about the same height as an iPad mini, but obviously wider. So once again, great bag for all of your essentials. Card holder, keys, sunglasses, and any sort of wallet, but maybe not a big wallet. And you definitely couldn't fit an actual mini iPad either, just because of this irregular shape. And so this is what it looks like on. It's seriously one of the most adorable shoulder bags, you guys. So iconic. And so the sizing on these vintage bags do differ a little bit from the saddlebags we currently see in stores now. So the new saddlebags are slightly taller, so about 0.75 inches taller. And then they're also slightly wider, so about half an inch wider, when comparing to the vintage versions. However, the vintage ones are much deeper, so 7.25 versus the new ones are at 2.5 inches. And in terms of weight, the vintage ones definitely do tend to be more lightweight. Overall, I would say that this is a very lightweight bag despite the hardware. The new Dior saddles are definitely a lot more heavy. I want to say that they are about 2 pounds. So I would definitely say that's more of a pro when it comes to the vintage versions. Overall, I would say that the vintage ones feel just a lot more playful and casual, especially with the materials they were using. So canvas, they had nylon, and of course, just a million fun prints and patterns that we really just don't see from Dior anymore. I will say that the newer versions definitely feel a lot more luxe. So we're talking full leather. And then a lot of them I noticed do have a lot more hardware. And so I feel like the newer ones are intended to be a little bit more classic and monochromatic and definitely more of a luxe feel. So they have leather all over, which definitely explains why they're so much heavier than the vintage versions. The vintage version is a little bit more short and narrow, but it is way deeper. So overall, it feels a lot more chunkier in hand. Whereas the new saddles look a lot more sleek and taller, but the new ones are actually a lot more slim on the inside as well. And on top of that, much heavier. Again, new ones typically feature all leather. I can honestly say that this girly saddle feels a lot more light and playful, where I feel like the new saddlebags are definitely meant to be more of a statement luxury piece. So this version was listed as good on the RealReal, and I would say that that's pretty fair. If anything, it's a very good. We do have some signs of wear, but nothing crazy. And I think for the age of this bag and how difficult the maintenance is on this bag, it's really good. All right, so now let's get into authenticity and how to check on this bag. And I'll be real with you guys, I was so paranoid about this one being a dupe, especially since I had the dupe as a kid. So I actually ended up getting this one authenticated 2 more times. And sure enough, it ended up being real. So let's get into what you need to look out for. As always, make sure that the stitching is even all around the bag. So the stitching in every aspect, inside of the bag, outside of the bag, should be pristine, clean, straight lines. So see how straight that stitching is? We don't want any wonkiness anywhere, especially on the insides. Pretty much the inside of the bag should reflect the outside of the bag. So in here where the Christian Dior logo is, if we turn that over, you will go ahead and find the serial number. And that code, all of the numbers should be easy to read, legible, and evenly spaced. And so if you turn this around, it should say made in Italy. And also make sure you check all of the hardware engravings throughout the bag. Everything should be clean, consistent, and evenly spaced. And as always, we want to always feel for this hardware. It honestly should feel pretty heavy duty. We don't want any flimsy or even lightweight hardware. That's usually a sign that it might be a dupe. It should feel pretty solid to the touch and make some noise as well. And of course, whenever you're in doubt, always get your bags checked and authenticated by an independent third party. I cannot stress this enough, you guys. I can honestly wear this bag so many ways: jeans and a baby tee, or even slip dress, or even an outfit like this with a blazer. I just think it's such a nice way to make a serious outfit a lot more playful. Now let's move on to the pros and cons of this handbag. So one of the pros is definitely the fact that it's an iconic John Galliano collectible Dior piece. It's also instantly recognizable as Y2K aesthetic. It is lightweight and comfortable. It does fit really nicely on my shoulder. Another pro is that it's definitely an investment piece, so it's rare. And the prices on these, you guys, are skyrocketing. So one of the cons is that it's definitely a smaller bag. So it is not going to be a bag that holds everything plus the kitchen sink. However, the biggest con with this bag, hands down, is the fact that it is so delicate. This canvas is seriously a liability, and you really cannot risk spilling anything, especially colored liquids on this. The patent does also show wear over time, and again, this bag is definitely susceptible to yellowing, so a major watch out when you're looking for this bag on the pre-loved market. Prices are also very high for this, which is definitely a con. Some of them are going for $2.5, $3K and up. Honestly, they're getting to the point where they're almost the same price as a brand new Dior saddle. However, I will say that the vintage ones are a lot more unique. So that raises the question, right? Who is the Dior saddle bag for? I would say versions like this one are for the nostalgic collector, the Y2K lover, collectors like myself, or any serious John Galliano or Dior stan. If you're looking for practicality, I'll be real with you guys, this one is not ideal. But if you're looking for a statement piece, this is unbeatable. Current resale value for bags like this one are anywhere from $2,500 to even $4,000, just depending on the condition and, of course, the type of vintage saddle. Overall, I would say it's less of an everyday bag and more of a statement piece of John Galliano and Dior's iconic history. So Y2K forever, duh. So let me know down below in the comments, you guys, would you splurge on a piece like this one? And which vintage Dior saddle bag is your favorite? I want to hear, let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already. It seriously helps this small channel out tremendously, you guys. That way I can keep bringing you videos just like this one. And let me know, what kind of video do you guys want to see next? I would love to hear from you. And as always, I hope you have a beautiful day in the world, wherever you might be. I loved hanging out with you all, and I will see you next Friday. Bye, besties.